So the Colts have fever players out. Sophie was not there, but they give everyone jerseys. And Caitlin Clark, grew up in Iowa, is a Chiefs fan, refused to wear the Colts jersey. She just held it up like this. And she hasn't gone out and said, like, I didn't do it because I'm a Chiefs fan, but the internet was like, she's a real one.
I love it.
And it's just like...
Sophie Cunningham just dropped an explosive interview that's got everyone talking. From blasting league leadership to throwing shade at Caitlin Clark. She didn't hold back for a single second, and honestly, it might be the realest take we've heard in months. From fiery honesty to bold accusations, Sophie's words are shaking up the entire WNBA conversation. Fans are divided. Is she speaking hard truth or just stirring up chaos again? Either way, this interview is pure gold. So, are you watching the finals?
I haven't watched it yet. Hell no. I haven't watched a lick of the WNBA. I don't know what's going on. I talked to my teammates like the day that we did exit interviews and all of that. And I haven't, I need a cleanse. Like, I'm booking vacations. Wes, we need to go on a vacation and do a podcast.
Before we go any further, let's get one thing straight. Sophie Cunningham has never been scared to speak her mind. Whether she's roasting her own team, calling out the WNBA front office, or dropping a few swear words mid-interview, Sophie always says what others won't. But this time, she absolutely went off on everything.
I can win and roam it. Like, I can, be like, I'm here, they brought, I'll, put the shit on. They're not doing that is so incredible. I hope she knows how awesome that was.
You said it yesterday, and I was like, I'm not surprised by it. I'm not. Do you know what? Everyone's always trying to get her to wear something or do something, and
The setup was simple. Sophie Cunningham sat down on the Show Me Something podcast back home in Missouri, sipping coffee from a mug and talking like she couldn't care less who was listening. No media filter, no PR polish. Just Sophie being unapologetically Sophie. Between casual chats about horses, the weather, and a bit of baby fever, she somehow managed to cover nearly every hot WNBA headline, especially Caitlin Clark. Let's start there. Recently, the Indianapolis Colts invited the Indiana Fever players to a game and handed out Colts jerseys. A nice little PR gesture. But Caitlin Clark didn't exactly play along. Growing up in Iowa, she's a huge Chiefs fan. So when they handed her that Colts jersey, she didn't wear it or fake a smile. She just held it up politely like asterisk. Yeah, thanks, but I'm good. Asterisk. And the internet completely exploded. Fans were calling Caitlin a real one, praising her loyalty, and flooding Twitter with memes like confetti. That's when Sophie Cunningham jumped in. And her reaction was exactly what you'd expect from her. She said straight up, "That was awesome."
So the Colts have fever players out. Sophie was not there, but they give everyone jerseys. And Caitlin Clark, grew up in Iowa, is a Chiefs fan, refused to wear the Colts jersey. She just held it up like this. And she hasn't gone out and said, I didn't do it because I'm a Chiefs fan, but the internet was like, she's a real one.
I love it.
And it's just it's so good. So good.
I hope Caitlin knows how cool that was. Then she laughed and added, "I'm not even surprised by it, classic Sophie." Now, keep in mind, Sophie wasn't even at the game. She said she got the hell out of there before the event. But when she saw the clip online, she couldn't stop hyping Caitlin up. Sophie said Caitlin's choice not to wear the Colts jersey was real and powerful. And honestly, she's right. It might have been a small thing, but in a league where everyone's expected to smile for the cameras and play the PR game, that kind of authenticity stands out. Sophie even called it her favorite moment of the week, joking that Caitlin could have worn it and smiled, but choosing not to made it even better. And honestly, that moment says a lot about why fans love both of them. Caitlin Clark is unapologetically herself. Calm, confident, and real. Sophie Cunningham is unapologetically loud, passionate, fiery, and unfiltered. So when one outspoken player recognizes another, it's this rare kind of mutual respect fans can't get enough of. But that was just the beginning. Sophie didn't stop there. She dove into her own recent controversies too. Especially the time she cussed out WNBA leadership and ended up getting fined for it. You remember that one. Her rant about how league executives don't know anything about basketball. Well, in this new interview, Sophie basically doubled down and said, "Yeah, I said it. And no, she's not taking it back." Sophie Cunningham owned every word of it. She explained it perfectly. "I'm not going back on what I said. Maybe how I said it could have been better." Then she laughed and added, "I might have been a little harsh, but that's just me." Classic Sophie, half apology, half mic drop. She even admitted she's trying to be more mindful about how she talks because, in her words, "When I cuss, people think I'm uneducated. But I do know what I'm talking about. I just cuss." Honestly, fair point. Passion is part of her DNA. And that raw energy is exactly what makes her stand out. That's Sophie's whole brand. Fiery, real, and completely unfiltered. When the host asked if she regretted her comments about WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert or the league office, Sophie didn't even blink. "No, I meant every word. Maybe I shouldn't have cussed, but I meant it." That's the kind of honesty fans crave. No corporate polish, no walking on eggshells, just straight up truth. She says what everyone else is thinking but doesn't have the guts to say out loud. But what made the interview even better is that Sophie didn't just talk about herself. She somehow circled back to defending Caitlin Clark again, without even realizing it. When asked if she's been watching the WNBA finals, Sophie flat out said, "Hell no, I haven't watched a lick of the WNBA. I'm on a break." Then she shrugged it off with, "Good luck to whoever wins. I honestly don't care who wins." Now, before anyone takes that as shade, Sophie actually made a pretty valid point. She said after a long, draining season filled with injuries, chaos, and non-stop drama, she just needed to unplug. And that's something a lot of players feel but never say publicly. Sophie explained that when you're in the grind, competing every day, dealing with setbacks, and living through the emotional roller coaster, you need time to reset. Watching other teams succeed right after your season ends can sting. So, when she said she's on a WNBA cleanse, it wasn't disrespect, it was burnout. And after the season she's had, who could blame her? She said she's been relaxing, spending time with family, and enjoying a slower pace for once. Still, she couldn't resist throwing in a few sarcastic one-liners that reminded everyone why she's so entertaining. "I'm booking vacations. I'm over it. There's drama, but I'm done," she joked. Then, in true Sophie fashion, she pivoted mid-conversation with, "Let's talk about fashion instead." Only she could go from league fines to peacoats and Christmas trips in the same breath. But looping back to that Caitlin Clark jersey moment, Sophie didn't just think it was funny. She thought it was powerful. She said it showed how Caitlin knows exactly who she is and isn't trying to please everyone. And in a league where players are constantly expected to be polished, perfect, and grateful, that kind of authenticity stands out. Sophie even said she hopes Caitlin realizes how iconic that small moment was. And honestly, she's right. That short clip of Caitlin holding the jersey ended up becoming one of the most shared WNBA posts of the week. It showed confidence without Caitlin Clark having to say a single word. Sophie called it awesome and fans completely agreed. Because let's be honest, Caitlin could have easily done the typical PR move, smiled for the cameras and thrown that jersey on. But she didn't. She stood her ground politely and confidently. And fans loved every second of it. That's exactly why Sophie relates to her. Because both of them are real. They don't fake things for social media likes or for league approval. Midway through the interview, Sophie switched gears and started talking about what it's really like to be outspoken in the WNBA. She said it comes with consequences, but she feels a responsibility to speak up. "I represent a lot of people who don't say stuff," she explained. "So I want to make sure I say it right." That's actually a rare level of self-awareness from her. She knows her platform matters. Sophie understands she's not just speaking for herself, but for players who can't risk fines, backlash, or losing sponsorship deals. And that's what separates her from most players. She's loud, sure, but it's not meaningless noise. There's intention behind her words. Then she dropped another gem that immediately reignited fan conversations. When the topic of WNBA leadership came up again, Sophie didn't flinch. She said, "They might be good business people, but they don't know basketball." That line went viral the first time she said it, And now she's doubling down. No backtracking. No apology. Just an explanation. She believes too many of the people making the biggest decisions about players and teams don't actually understand the game they're shaping. And honestly, it's hard to argue with her if you've followed Sophie for a while. None of this is surprising. This is exactly who she is. The player who says what everyone else only whispers behind closed doors. And the best part, even when she's saying something controversial, she somehow makes it sound funny, real, and almost charming. Her energy is this wild mix of country girl honesty and don't mess with me confidence, which makes every interview feel half like a press conference and half like a stand-up show. She'll cuss, laugh, drop a brutally honest take, and then start talking about horses like nothing happened. That's her magic. Raw, unpredictable, and completely authentic. And as this first part of her interview wrapped up, Sophie circled back to Caitlin Clark once more. You could tell she genuinely respects her. Sophie sees how the league constantly uses Caitlin's name for clicks, headlines, and sponsorship pushes. And you can feel that she's getting tired of it. Her tone made it clear. Sophie doesn't just admire Caitlin for her talent, she respects her for not letting the noise change who she